welcome to episode 46 of the Truuman podcast, the podcast designed to create a generation of self-defined men. Today, I'm joined by Scott Johnson. Scott, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on.
Good. And Scott, I'll start where I always start. In your own words, what makes you a man?
Well, I've sort of redefined that a little bit over a period of time. I think before, what made me a man, or what I believed what a man would be strong and the silent type, right? That's what was sort of not drummed into me, but is what I was surrounded by, I guess. And now I feel like I'm a man that's sort of open to my emotions and feelings, but I'm also still quite strong-willed and things like that. So that part has not really changed me. I've just sort of added some extra stuff onto it.
Nice. I like that, like a little bit of a bolt-on, which is you
Mm.
don't need to lose the true essence, shall we say. You just need to
Yeah.
try some new things. Yeah, awesome.
Mm.
Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do in the men's space?
Yeah, so I was born in London in a place called Bermondsey. Born and bred southeast London all my life, really. I'm now sort of a bit of a traitor. I've crossed the river into East London where my missus and her family are all West Ham fans, so I'm in enemy territory at the moment for me. But yeah, it's all good fun. And before I started doing this full time, just over a year ago, I was a football coach. I've been doing that for the past 16 to 17 years. And that's a real interesting space to learn about young men's mental health, I guess, in hindsight, looking back at it. And now I'm full time within the Proper Blokes Club, where I facilitate our drop-in centres and I go into different areas and kickstart walk and talks to get men more active and get them talking. So that's a really brief version of it, I guess.
Nice. And usually there's a reason as to why you want to do something in this space. Is there a little bit of a story as to why you got into it?
Yeah. So I started the Proper Blokes Club in September 2020 because I went through best part of 10 years through the family court system to try and see my children, and it was pretty traumatic to say the least. I went into it thinking it was going to be a really quick, easy process, and that was very naive. It's a system that needs a lot of work on it. It seems to be it's quite biased to a certain degree, and it's a little bit difficult for men, fathers. And I sort of halfway through that process, I sort of decided enough was enough in terms of suffering in silence. I guess I was sort of mentally, I was really struggling. But beforehand, I was very much a part of the old type of fella where I just bottled it all up and I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But really, I'm screaming out when I'm standing there in my head saying, like, talk about it, Scott. Do you know what I mean? So when I first started the group, I wanted to start a space for dads that were going through that process because I used to see them. There's so many times I've been in, obviously, the family courts themselves, and you in the waiting rooms and stuff like that, and it's packed all the time, and you're seeing dads in their best suits going in, all the file of faxes and all that, going in happy as Larry, saying I'm going in to go and see my kids, and then you see them come out an hour later because decisions have been made about their lives and their involvement with their children that are going to affect them forever. Do you know what I mean? And they look just different people coming out, And back then, I always wondered what happened to these fellas because a lot of the time you'll see the guys come in on their own. So I never took anybody with me. I didn't want to bring anyone into that environment. And what you usually find is the mums usually come in quite mob-handed with their sort of like free solicitors and stuff like that. And family members all backing them up and all that, and it becomes a little bit of a celebration when they come out of the room. Oh, it's great! Yeah, I've stopped the child seeing the dad. Like it's mental for me to see, and it's a dad's life that's been ruined. You know what I mean? Regardless of what they've done, yeah, there are some people that shouldn't be around kids and shouldn't see kids, but I think majority of it is easily fixable, and it's just two people that are going at each other. And I was very much like that at the beginning. I had a lot of animosity towards my ex-partner for putting me through this process and stuff like that, and you lose sight of why you're there, sort of thing. So I wanted to start a space for those guys, And literally on the first ever walk we done, it changed straight away because the guy that came along on the first ever walk wasn't a dad. So so it's sort of like that plan went out the window straight away. And then it just evolved from there for everything for all men.
Amazing. Yeah, best laid plans and all that. It's
Yeah,
ruined by a different bloke. But no, that's
yeah,
nice to hear.
mm.
I've interviewed a couple of guys who have been through issues with family courts and that
Hmm.
side of things. It would be really good to get your one piece of advice to maybe a dad that's just found out that they've got to go down that route. As in, what should they sort of look out for in that process starting off?
Yeah. It's an hard one to say what to look out for because obviously everyone's scenario is different and you don't know which judge you're going to like. It's all completely different. But what I would say to someone that's starting out on this journey, fingers crossed it's short, but if not, take someone with you. Like I think in hindsight, when I went through it, I was just sort of like the normal guy approach to it. No, I go and do it on my own. Do you know what I mean? Like only that willpower and that sort of rubbish only lasts so long before you start crumbling, and that's what happened to me. You know, like you gotta make yourself a little bit vulnerable in these situations and open up and be honest about how you're feeling. And at the beginning, I would have probably said, "Can I swear on this podcast at all?"
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah. I was saying I was shitting it a little bit in the beginning, you know, but I never said anything to anyone. I bottled that up for years, those sort of emotions and those feelings, and coming out like I used to have to go and walk for a couple of hours after because I felt dead inside. Do you know what I mean? And I was slowly getting numb to it. But a friend of mine recently went through the court process himself, and like he was never going to ask me to go with him, but I said to him, "Look, I'll come with you." Do you know what I mean? And he didn't fight it once. He didn't fight it once. He went, "Oh, mate, I really appreciate it because I know he needed it." Do you know what I mean? And everyone should go with someone, you know, like. So that's probably the biggest bit of advice I would give. I would just say, look, just be honest and true to yourself about what's happening, and be as honest as you can, and take somebody with you. Now, whether that's a friend or whether you reach out to an organisation and whether they've got people to go with you. Do you know what I mean? Like I've always said, like my time is quite tight. Do you know what I mean? But if someone reaches out to me and they need a bit of support and they want me to go with them and I can, then I will. Do you know what I mean? Because I know how that feels. You know.
yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Is just having a bit of support in whatever
Mm,
shape or form. Like just literally
yeah.
presence is always useful.
Mm,
You obviously talked about the like some dads obviously shouldn't see their kids, and that for me is like I don't have any kids, so I don't know the ins and
mm,
outs of this, but my understanding of family court is that it's designed to protect the child essentially,
mm,
and it does seem in some cases now that it's very biased and that it's almost used as a tool as
mm,
an aggression towards the end of the relationship rather than
mm,
a solution for the children.
mm.
Is there anything that you hope or see any light of things changing in the future? Is there anything that you've seen any positives on that side?
I don't know because since the moment I came out of the court process, nothing nothing really changed. But I think the most important thing with it is that you need two people that's just going to be honest and leave that shit in the past and think what's best for the person in the middle. And why they're going to court? They're going to court to sort out arrangements for a child that is innocent in all of this. Do you know what I mean? So when they come out of these courts and they get a 6 months delay and they're celebrating, it's embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? We've got to remember we're adults at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And putting that rubbish aside and doing what's best for the kids is the only way this process is going to work. Because I sort of empathise a lot with them after the judges and all that sort of stuff because at the time when you go through the process, you look at this person, you're thinking like, who are you to make decisions on my life? Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't until when I came out and I started looking back at it a little bit, and I thought, right, so if I put myself in their shoes and I've got him saying this and she saying that, two completely different things, but there's no sort of damage happening to the child. I'm gonna keep in that happy place because if I say, oh no, go no, you're telling rubbish, go and see the dad, and that dad's a wrong one, and he does something, mate. They don't want this press. They don't want that. Oh yeah, the courts let him see the kid who's a murderer or something crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So until the two parents are open and honest and just hold their hands up and just do what's best for the kids, then I don't think it's going to change. because I don't see how the courts can change it. Because so the allegations against me, they're all proved wrong. Do you know what I mean? There was no evidence backing any of them either. Do you know what I mean? And there was no history of it either. But what it done is it delayed it. So there was a delay. And before you know it, you've got years worth of delays. You're in and out your kids' life. The kids are unsettled. They're looking at a stranger now instead of their dad. Do you know what I mean? And for what? Like, no one's gained anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've gone down the pub with your mate after and said, "Oh yeah, I've stopped my dad seeing the kids for a little bit longer." It's embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, but I don't think anything's going to change until the parents liven up. Do you know what I mean? And that might be a little bit controversial for some of the dads listening to this when they're still in that rage moment. Do you know, because they hate the courts, they hate the mum, they hate this, they hate that, they hate that. But we have to remove that hatred and just say, look, we live once, let's crack on. That part of our life is done. Yeah, it was a bit fiery, but now we're separate. Let's do what's right by our kids, you know?
Yeah, well, mediation is probably the best solution, right? If you can just get it done through that, and involving the courts is never useful. At the end of the day, they're there to do a job, and they're going to get paid. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that I found really interesting with a guy that I did a podcast with. That was the advice he gave, was that it's going to get delayed. Like, you're going to go and you're going to think that you're going to get a result that day. He's like, you just have to go in, take what they say, and walk out of the door, because it could be the best news, or it could literally just be, there's the can, I'm just going to kick it down the road. And it's a very drawn out process. So it's something that I hope I never have to go through, and I don't really wish it on many people, but, well, any people. I don't know if I said many.
But one thing I was saying that, sorry, mate. So it just reminded me. When I went so I don't know if this is something new they've done, but when I went to court last with my mate, a couple of months ago, he went into the room with a partner. They had a discussion in there. They came out of the room. Mediators were on site. Went and done mediation. Come out of the mediation, back into the courtroom. Decision made. He was seeing his kids 2 weeks later. They had the schedule and everything sorted. Like, when I went to courts, the mediators weren't there, so I had to go and do that completely separate, and that's what delayed it. So now I don't know if this would be a really great thing if mediators are on site in the courts, because then they can go into the rooms, get it done in the day. Because a lot of these things can be it's just two people just don't like each other, and they can sort of iron it out and get it sorted there and then. So fingers crossed, if that is something that they're rolling out, because I haven't been in the court process myself personally for a few years, so I don't know whether this is something new that's been brought in, or whether that was because it was a smaller court. I don't know, but that worked a charm. That did, because he doesn't have to go back to court now, unless if they have another tiff and someone throws the toys at their pram. They're all done. Do you know what I mean? They've got their arrangement. They're communicating between each other. That's a massive, massive win. Rather than saying, right, go and do mediation. Then, all right, that's going to take a few months. All right, then come back up to see you. Before you know it, you're a year down the line. That saved them a year. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen pictures. He's posting his pictures up with his kids and all that. They're having a great time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's in that scenario, the only win is the kid, right? Because it's
100%. Yeah, so I don't know if they're doing that now. If they are, that's really good.
Yeah, that would be good. So obviously that was a bit of a shitty part of your life, but something good came out of it, which is obviously the Proper Blokes Club. So take us back to that first meeting. Obviously, you were super excited to meet a dad, and then
and then he weren't. No, it was really exciting, because I had it in my mind to do it for a while, but work stopped me from doing it. And obviously COVID hit, so I lost all my work, because I was all it was face to face and working with young people and stuff. So I posted it up on social media, and I say this quite a lot when I spoke about this story, is this that social media and reality, I moulded them together at the time, and it's obviously completely two different worlds, because I had so much feedback on the first, when I posted it. I said, "Oh, this is great," and I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna have loads of dads down at the first walk and stuff like that." Turned up on time, nobody there, right? So straight away I was like, "Oh, here we go." Do you know what I mean? Like, I had it in my head, like, there's gonna be loads of dads down there ready to talk and open up and all this sort of anarchy, and yeah, but it was weird though, because something in my head told me to wait about, and usually I'm quite a stickler for time and stuff like that. So it was about 6:15, so the meeting started at 6, and then all of a sudden this lad's running towards me, And he said, "Oh, is it Scott? Is this a walking group?" And I was a bit disheartened at this point because obviously I thought there was hundreds coming down, and it was only the one fella that come down. And yeah, it was a great. We and then we done the walk, which is still going today in Southwark, down the Thames Path. And then we ended ran near Weatherspoons at Surrey Quays. I don't know if you know the area. And then we still had more to talk about, like, so the normal thing I guess blokes do. We said, I'd just like to go for a couple of pints and have a chat. And I think we was in there till close. Like we needed, we both needed that space at that time. It was weird. It just sort of happened at the right time. And I guess it was fate to a certain degree, which I didn't believe in before, but I think certain things happen for a reason now. And when I look back at stuff, especially the group, you can see them sort of coming into place a little bit, And I think if hundreds came down, it would have been unmanageable, obviously. It would have been madness. If there was even 10 or 20 lads, I was new to this. I didn't particularly like talking to groups of people. So it wouldn't have worked out either. Do you know what I mean? So perfect way to start. Only one lad turning up. I felt comfortable straight away because we had a few things in common, but then we also had loads of stuff that we didn't have in common, which was crazy, but really great life stories and stuff. And then we posted the first group picture. Obviously, it was just me and him down at the Weatherspoon saying, "Look, lads, it is real. There are people coming." And then two new lads turned up the following week, and it just kept building from there, really. So it's a funny way to start, but it was a perfect way to start.
Why do you think men have that apprehension? It's like it was the following week, twice as many people turned up, but
Yeah,
it just took one bloke and then you had to show it was real. Have you come
yeah. I
across
don't
that?
know. I think they want to see one. They want to see people actually do it because before it was just a flyer.
Yeah,
So it was nothing then. So they don't know what type of people is going to go down. And obviously, there's a massive stigma attached to mental health. If I went and spoke to 100 fellas and said, "Look, draw me a picture or tell me 5 things that someone with mental health issues has," they would all say the same stuff. I reckon it'd be all the far end of stuff where people were suffering severely, people were having support in the community, people were being locked up and stuff like that. That end. But what they don't realise is it's a big spectrum. The guys at the bottom end of that, they're at the beginning part of their mental health journey to a certain degree. That financial stress, that relationship stress, that work stress, that I don't know problems with the children, etc. Like what I had. All of those, if you don't address them, eventually you end up having that breakdown further down the line, and then you end up going further down that line. So that's why we're trying to reach those guys at the very beginning to have these conversations. But because they don't realise they have mental health issues, do you know what I mean? Because they associate with the far end, it's quite difficult for them to get involved. And even to the marketing side of things, when we're promoting it, like I'm even thinking about maybe making that word mental health even smaller in the text, and then adding the activity even bigger, because we want to get involved in stuff. So I'll be getting
yeah,
lads down, and once we have these conversations, I think, oh yeah, all right. So I do feel a bit better about talking about this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully we get them in that way. Like, we've been fairly successful, but even to this day, we've been going for what, it'd be 5 years actually. It might be 5 years this month actually. I've lost track of time, but
yeah,
it's gone so quick. But we even have lads now that are waiting months before they get involved, and then when they come down, they say, "I wish I'd done it sooner." I had a conversation last night with one of the guys. He was talking to his friend at work because I post up the group photos of the walks and stuff. So I like it being public. I want people to say, "Look, there's loads
yeah,
of these lads just going out having a talk." Like, make it really open. Obviously, it's a choice if they want to be in a photo. I don't force someone to do that. But one of the lads went into work the next day and he said, "Oh, I've seen you at that walking group thing and all that." And he's been badgering him there. He's been talking to him about it, and he pulled him in the car the other night, and he said, "Oh, what do you do on these walks? Like, what's it like?" Because you could tell he's interested in coming down, but he's trying to scope it out. He doesn't want no surprises when he comes down. In his head, I reckon he's thinking we're all holding hands and like each talking about our emotions and feelings one at a time, and like really a pressurized situation, and maybe like we're all cuddling a tree or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, if people want to do that, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind a
yeah,
tree myself. I wouldn't cuddle one, but yeah, whatever works for you, I don't judge. But yeah, there's a big misconception of what mental health is, and until lads start realizing that feeling shit every day because of the everyday stuff that we've normalized, we need to talk about that. Do you know what I mean? And that's the space that we're trying to create, you know. And the guys that have come down and got involved I feel the ones that have really embraced it have reaped the reward from it and the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I do similar things. I have sort of been to similar events and things like that. I've seen
Mm,
people not use the word mental health and just do it as a group of blokes
mm,
and just and I've had conversations where like mental health is almost like the byproduct of
yeah, yeah.
what's happening right now rather than specific, because we are shit scared of that word for some weird reason.
Mm,
It's vulnerable, right? It's quite rare that men are vulnerable now. I mean, it's getting better, right? But there's
mm,
still a big step, and there is that's a really interesting stage, isn't it? That whether it's one day or 1 year, where it's like, this is interesting, I want to do this, but I haven't essentially got the balls to do it in
mm,
this scenario, and that's a really key area. I mean, you said it with your with like kids and stuff, and it's like family court a year down the line. Like what a waste of a year almost. It's like, just come.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be good for you if you do come. I
Mm.
guess what would be really good, and hopefully there's someone listening who's considering coming, is why don't you talk about some of the successes of essentially getting a group of lads together?
Yeah, so it's obviously individuals got to mention them, but we've had lads that have come down that have completely changed their careers. You know, they've finally built up the confidence to tell their bosses where to go with how they're being treated. Some people have gained employment after being out of employment for a long time. Some people's relationships have flourished now after going through some difficulties. You know, like with us bottling stuff up, they've become confident in talking about the issues now. Um, and that's happened, you know. One of the big things we get now, I find, I think if I can put in a nutshell what we do, is we just build up massive amounts of confidence in these guys because they're when they're open and honest about how they're feeling and they realise they don't get judged, they keep doing it. They keep doing it and they keep growing each time, and you can see it. Because I see some of the lads that come down. They're like a shell of themselves when they come down. They're like a deer in headlights a little bit, and you can see them when we were at the meeting points. You can see them like doing a drive by about 3 or 4 times before actually coming over, and you can clock them the first time, but you don't go over and say, "Look, get over here, come and drag them in." You just let them. They're doing their staking out a little bit, and they come down. And then we've got them lads that 6 months later they're now meeting and greeting people and leading walks. Do you know what I mean? Like that to me is a massive, massive, massive success. One of the lads, I can mention him. He won't mind. Ed. He started with this group by looking at it from afar for a little while. He got involved, a little bit apprehensive, didn't know what it was about and stuff like that. And it took him a few weeks to talk about stuff and get involved and stuff like that. And then he came to one of our first big walks, which we arranged every 3 months. And then he said that was the tipping point where he just felt pure acceptance. And
Yeah.
um, and now he's gone on to the point now where he's a leader of our Greenwich based stuff. He's now a director of the organisation as well, and he's changed jobs. His relationship situation's changed because he's built up the confidence to challenge all this stuff that was negative in his life, and now he's just like what I say when I talk to my counselors. I feel like I'm riding a wave sometimes, you know, when I'm on that positivity wave, mate. I see him next to me on it. Do you know what I mean? We're just gliding through it now. Do you know what I mean? And but every now and again, don't worry, we meet a little dip, but because we've got such a great supportive network around us, those dips last an hour tops. You know what I mean? You feel a bit shitty for a little bit. The lads reach out to each other, or they reach out to us and say, "Look, feeling a bit ropey today." Do you know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. Lads are on it straight away, chatting to him, maybe meet for a coffee. Bosh, back on your surfboard, run the wave again. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's coming
Like the
from someone
turtles,
that don't
I know.
swim. So there you go.
Like the
But yeah,
turtles in
mate, there's
Finding
so
Nemo.
many. Yeah, there's just so many. There's just so many of those type of situations, you know, and a lot of the lads don't realise how strong they are as well. You know, like I don't. We should never compare our stories and stuff like that. So, oh, he went through more than us, like because it's whatever our situation is, you know. But to me, when I listen to some of these lads' stories, I think for you to be still standing here and then coming down to something like this because you want to better yourself and you want to start talking about stuff, you are a million times stronger than you can ever think. Do you know what I mean? They've gone through some really shitty, traumatic times. Do you know what I mean? And they're still standing. They're still, and then when you see them come a few weeks later and they're proper integrated in the group and they're parting some wisdom with some of the other new lads and they're meeting and greeting new people and they've got that light in their life again, mate, it's really, I ain't gonna lie, it's a good feeling I get from it, you know, like standing at the back of these groups and you're seeing all these lads chatting away, laughing and joking, and none of them would have known each other. None of them would have known each other because their social circles would never have mixed. There's such a mix of people down there. Do you know what I mean? But it's enriching everyone's lives, opening up to all this diversity of different types of people and stuff, you know. So yeah, there are loads.
Good. So I started this podcast just over 2 years ago, and obviously it's recorded, so I can literally look back at my face 2 years ago, and it is literally a shell. You can physically see the drainage of my face. I feel like I'm looking all right today, but yeah, it's you can tell, like you can. I will definitely test to that because I have literal photo evidence of it.
Yeah.
2 year period. One thing that I find really interesting is you said that you don't want to grab people out of the car that are sort of like surfing by. I'll just tell you this: I've told this to a few people. It might be something you want to implement now. So do you know Andy's fan club?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've started a role now within their organisation called the sweeper, and they literally at 5 to the start of the meeting go around the car park and literally go and get people out of cars, because that is what a lot of people do, is that they will go and sit in the car park for 2 months and then eventually, but they're literally just like, come on, bud. They're not forcing them, but it's that almost that next bridge.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I guess one thing that you might have had, I don't know if you have you had any negativity for putting together a group of men?
We had a couple of scenarios. we've had a few, social media is. I would say we've been really lucky. We've been really lucky. I'd say 99% of the stuff we get on there is all positive and stuff like that. But you get the odd person that you get some women that might say, "Oh, why is it only a men's group?" You know what I mean? We get some of that sometimes. But usually, to be fair, they're all right. To be fair, because once you tell them the reasons why, they're like, "Okay, I didn't know," and that's fine. You get some men that get involved in it as well. Very very rarely you get it, but you just get the comments of, I'll just go down the pub. That's where all the men sort out all the stuff and all that. And I'm thinking, all right, he's probably about 6 deep in his pints of Stellas, not dealing with none of these issues, and just, I mean, just being a complete idiot. But that's up to him. Do you know what I mean? But what I think is, I think they look at stuff like this, and there's an element of jealousy that these guys are doing something positive in their life. So whilst he's sitting there criticising, do you know what I mean? You think to yourself, all right, no problem. Like, so why then? What's the problem? Do you know what I mean? But you can't engage really in conversation with those people when they're in that mindset. You know what I mean? So you just have to let them go through their own process. But I'd honestly say 99% of the stuff we get is all positive feedback. I think it's impossible to be at 100. There's always going to be critics, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the positives outweigh the negatives by far. Yeah,
that's good. I mean, for me, it is getting better. But when I sort of first stepped into this space, you sort of saw any group that was a group of men was deemed sort of toxic, or there was that element of it. I just wondered if you'd come across any of that, but it seems really positive, which is good and exciting for the future of this as a whole. One thing that you touched on as well, which was when the guys actually do come, is that you start to see progress and they start to make change. Do you think that sort of stems back from what you were saying about men wanting to do?
Yeah, I think we're sort of like pack animals, aren't we? You know, like we want to be around positive people and like people to push us and make us accountable for our stuff a lot of the time. You know, like it's definitely helped me, you know, and personally, and I think it's helped a lot of the lads as well. Like because I won't let it lie. So if people come to me and they say, "Oh, I want to do this, want to do that, want to do that," I say, "All right, go on, crack on, then do it." And then I'll ask them next week, and I say, "All right, so how's it going on doing that?" So I don't want these guys just to tell me, "Oh, they're going to do something," and then just leave it. I want them all to better themselves. I want them to really push and do the stuff that they want to do. You know, because like I said, look, we only live once, regardless of what you believe, you know, like make this life count, you know what I mean? Like, don't wait till next year to do stuff. Don't wait next month. I know some stuff might be unrealistic at the time, but you can make small steps towards those bigger goals, you know, and having those little successes going towards it is how I approach stuff, and that keeps me accountable and keeps me pushing forward, you know. But yeah, I think like the group collectively all just being together and just radiating positivity a lot of the time. A lot of lads get a lot of inspiration from that, you know.
That's good. I follow a guy called Jesse Itzler. I don't know if you know
Mm.
him. He's an American guy. He actually had David Goggins living with him for a while, which is how he sort of became a public figure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he
Mm.
tried to climb some mountain in America, and it was like too snowy, or he got like halfway up and failed. And his wife went, "You can do it. It's okay. You can do it again next year." And the speech is, he goes, "Next year, I'm going next week." He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
be up to the top of this mountain," which is
Definitely.
like the top level of that extreme.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's don't wait around, man. Just get
No,
it done.
definitely. Yeah. I agree with that statement, 100%. Whatever it may be, I know, like obviously, yeah, that's quite an extreme thing, but like, because by the time you think about it, what you're doing is you're giving yourself a year to talk yourself out of it, and hopefully people forget about what you said. Do you know what I mean? But I'll
Yeah.
make notes and I'm going to be on you. Right. You said you're going to do it next year, right? This year. What you did? But yeah, get on and do it. Do you know what I mean? You got the momentum as well, wouldn't you? You know, especially if you just done it. Um, yeah,
Awesome. I like that. I've got notes.
yeah.
You're keeping track. So
Mm.
what's next for the Proper Bloke Club?
So the vision for what we want to try and do is we want to try and create a walk in every London borough. So that's the first sort of step. 32 London boroughs. I think we're in about 15 at the moment, if I remember correctly. So over the next 2 years, and now I'm focused on it full time now. Hopefully we can get to that number a little bit quicker. Um, because it hurts me sometimes when I get messages from guys in London that we don't have one where they are. And like with me, like I'm quite happy. Like I'll just get on a tube or a train or a bus. I'll travel as far. Like I love getting. To be fair, the far away from home, the better. Which is a bit weird, isn't it? I don't know, but I like getting out and about. But some people won't do that. So I want to try and get it to a point of where you're 20 minutes from a walk. Do you know what I mean? So we make it accessible for all Londoners. You know, but the infrastructure for that needs to be a little bit bigger because I'm a little bit at capacity now. I'm probably a little bit pushing into an unknown zone, you know, and there's a lot going on. Um, so we need to put a few things in place for next year. But technically, we're not really starting any new walks now. So obviously, from September to March is our time to maintain what we've got. And then planning for next year. But there are a few things that I'm going to be doing that are in partnership with other councils and stuff, which will be fine. But yeah, the aim is to try and get one in every London borough, and then go further afield. You know, this like walking and having a chat ain't unique to Londoners. You know, like there's some amazing spots all over the country, and that's the thing with social media. We've had guys from all over the country and even different countries. You know, like we've had like people that have like that lived here and gone to live in other countries saying like is there one. I had a weird one, when was it, not long ago, someone from America said is there one there because we done like a feature in a magazine or something like that and it went out there somewhere and it was like Texas or something and he went, is there one here? I thought, well, no, not in a minute, but like if someone's willing to get me to go out there, I'm more than happy to start one up.
Yeah.
but uh, but yeah, so London first and foremost, and then we want to go UK wide. Hopefully, in the next sort of 5 to 10 years, be UK wide. We're trialing out drop-in centres at the moment. So where we know lads are not all confident enough to go up to a group setting straight away. So we've started these. We're trialing them in different areas that we're doing our walks in, to try and so I facilitate them. So I'll be down there, and then people come along, have a cup of tea and a chat in a more private environment, and try and once again build up the confidence levels a little bit to say, right, go to the evening walks there and be around their peers and stuff. So yeah, so I want to try and push them more. And just keep pushing the walks, mate, really.
Amazing. And I guess sort of bigger picture, what's your view on sort of the men's space in general? What are you hopeful for, or what do you think there needs to be more of?
Um, yeah, I am hopeful because since starting this group, I'm seeing a lot of other things pop up, like around the country and stuff. And I think collectively we're going to make a big impact. Like if you look at the number of suicides and stuff like that, quite they've been high for a number of years. You know what I mean? And I think they're starting to creep up again a little bit. And I'm hoping that us creating these spaces will slowly put a dent in them, and start bringing those numbers down. And it's weird because you don't want there to have to, I don't want to have to do this, I guess, in a weird way. I mean, I love
Yeah.
doing it, but it's like food banks and things like that. You don't want none of these things to be here. It shouldn't be here. Like, we should be able to have conversations. We should be able to eat. Do you know what I mean? But it's great that these are here because people do need them. So I think I think over the years we'll see a massive change in it. I think the next generations that are coming through are going to be a lot more open about discussing things. And there'll be a less need for spaces like this, I guess, maybe going forward. Not in my lifetime, maybe not my kids' lifetime, but the ones after that, like it might all fizzle out, and then we've got a happy civilization. You don't know, where people can just be happy and just crack on with life. But at the moment, I'm really sort of proud of the work that all the lads are doing and making impacts in guys' lives, and we'll continue to fight that battle here in London anyway, and then push it further afield.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because as an adult, you sort of turn 18. You're at the moment, as a man, up until the age of 50, suicide is your likely cause of death. So I like to say it's UVU for like those years. So I don't know whether spaces like yours will ever disappear. I think they might just be used more, and it hopefully will just reduce that, and it'll be some rare skin
Yeah.
cancer or whatever that then becomes the main cause. I'm all for, like, let's try and be healthy until we're sort of 50 plus. That would be really good.
Definitely.
So Scott, if people have liked what they've heard, where can they find a walk, or where can they find you, or where can they find more info?
Yeah, so the answer to this one, I always say just get straight onto Google or your search engine or whatever, and just type in the Proper Blokes Club. Our website will be top of that, and then we have all our social media stuff as well on there. And everything will come straight through to me anyway. So whatever platform you decide you want to use, just drop me a message on there. But then it also has a lot of interesting stuff of other podcasts I've done, and other sort of bits of information that people have done about us, so you can have a proper read and look about what we're doing before you decide you want to get involved. That might answer a lot of your questions beforehand. But I can assure anyone that wants to come down, it is literally just a walk and a chat, nothing intense, and a very friendly environment, And there's no pressure as well. I need to emphasise this: is there's no pressure of you coming along talking about stuff that you don't want to talk about. Sometimes it takes people weeks to actually talk about stuff that's bothering them. Do you know what I mean? They might just talk about their favourite football team, or how their week's been at work, or whatever it may be, just general normal chat. And it might take them a lot longer to discuss the reasons why they've actually come down, which is absolutely fine, and there's no pressure for that, So don't feel pressured about talking about stuff you're not comfortable with just yet. But I can assure you that the space we've created is it's definitely the space to actually have these conversations.
No tree hugging, as Scott has.
No, not on my watch. No, leave those trees alone. Take a picture of
All
them.
those links will be below as well. So if anyone
Thank you.
wants to grab them, they can click away. Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you. Keep up the good work and keep up doing what you're doing. But I'll leave the final thoughts with you if there's anything that you want to sort of say to anyone listening.
Yeah, I'll keep it nice and simple. At the moment, something's happening that's negative in your life, go and reach out then. Reach out as soon as possible after that's happened. Because what I find is that once something shit's happened, we start slowly talking ourselves out of reasons why to get support. You know, like we think, oh, we just sit in this for ages and then it'll be all right, it'll go away. Do you know what I mean? But it eventually rears its ugly head again if you don't address it. So anyone that's feeling rubbish, don't matter how big or small it is, go and deal with it. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's a mate, whether that's your family, whether that's your missus, or whether that's an organisation like myself, where if you don't feel comfortable talking to the ones that are closest to you, reach out to those people. There's loads of amazing organisations out there that's ready to support you, and it's always free as far as I've seen anyway. So there's lots of people willing to listen.